Get Ready to Rock Radio. Music you want to hear.
Now, we started off with the track Are You Ready to Rock? And from Are You Ready to Rock to Get Ready to Rock, we say a very warm welcome to guitarist extraordinaire Michael Schenker. Hello, Michael.
Yeah, hi, David.
Nice to talk to you. And we played the track from the 30th anniversary concert recorded back in January. This, Michael, is almost like an update of Live at the Budokan. Do you see it that way, or do you see this as really a reinstatement of the Michael Schenker Group sound?
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know, both. It's like now and then. I mean, there's also like there is another record. There's another DVD out from actually 30 years ago. It came out this year too, with Cozy Powell on drums, which is kind of interesting because you can kind of compare of what has happened, in the last 30 years. But anyway, it is 30 years of MSG, musical freedom and personal development.
And do you see the last couple of years or so as the start of a new era for you and the band?
Definitely. For some reason, MSG was created for musical freedom and personal development. And, I always say I never really understand why I ended up on stage, because I really never really, it's not really my cup of tea. It has never really been. But in the last 2 years, I'm starting to enjoy myself on stage. So maybe I was preserved for, stuff to come up in the near future. And, and so the last 30 years maybe were just there for me to, to develop and to get my stuff out, all the stuff that I wanted to release, creative things, anything that came up on a, musical level. And I think I've experimented enough. And so, it seems like it's something new is happening.
This is always great, isn't it, for a performer like you? You've had a great career, but it's almost like reinvention. But, you're finding new strengths, it sounds, from appearing on stage more recently.
Yeah, I guess maybe I've been preserved, maybe the real hard work is yet to come.
Yes, but in fairness, I think we should say that you've always had good frontmen on vocals, haven't you, in the band? And that, to some extent, for a guitar player, it takes the pressure off you in a way, doesn't it? You can just focus on your guitar playing. Yeah,
I mean, like Gary has been a great singer, and I never really focused on any commercial success, really. I just, I looked for a singer who I thought had a great voice and would be suitable, and then I just went from there. It was really without much expectation.
Now, look, take us back to when you were starting out in music. This was right back in the 1970s. I mean, what music were you listening to as a teenager, presumably in Germany? What bands were sort of switching you onto music?
Well, I started when I was 9, listening to Shadows, Beatles, Rolling Stones, anything that was on the radio. But it was not until I was 14 when I heard what people can do, when I heard what people can really do with the distorted guitar sound, like Jeff Beck, Leslie West, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page. That was my jump start. That was it. I knew who I was. Yeah.
You could see that it was possible, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you always been a bit of a guitar? I mean, I call it a technician, but have you been as much into what tones and electronics you can get out of a guitar, the sounds you can make, as much as an actual craftsman playing the guitar? Have you been drawn to like things like distortion?
I don't. Well, I'm not really that much of a technician anyway. Yeah. But I just love what the original distorted guitar gives or lets me do with it. Then you just be yourself, and with the help of the jump start, you take it your own way.
Yes. And were you playing guitar from quite an early age? You mentioned you were listening to music at the age of 9, and obviously Jeff Beck was coming along with Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page. When did you think you could pursue as a career in music?
Well, I think probably around when I was 14, when this distorted guitar, when I knew what I can do with it, I knew it. I knew that was my field, and that's why I wanted to be. I was only interested in music that had great guitarists in them, even when I was 9 years old. I think subconsciously or something like that, I was, it was already rooted in me. I already, it was always guitar. It had to be guitar, a great guitar playing in a song in order for me to listen to, or that's what I was looking for.
And how did you start learning, Michael? Was it something that you were picking up off records, listening to music, or did you have any formal training at that time?
Listening to music. I was always interested in figuring out things from a tape recorder, but my brother was, I think, 16 years old. He asked me. He knew that I was doing that, and even though I was only 10 years old or 9. He asked me to learn things for him and then show him when he comes back from work. And so I kept busy.
Because I should mention to people, if they don't know, of course, you appeared with the Scorpions on a couple of albums, early albums, and you were only about 16 or 17.
I was 15, actually, on the Lonesome Crow album. 15.
I mean, it's a really young age.
Yeah.
Now, why didn't that work out for you? Why didn't you remain? You had the bond, obviously, with your brother. And
I think the Scorpions, I see myself more like a jump start for the Scorpions.
Yes. And
it seems like I keep coming back, helping out here and there. But I was never really meant to be part of their whole design or what their assignment. The Scorpions, I think it was, Matthias was the best suitable person for this because he may be pulling more on the same string as the others. For me, I had a different assignment, For me, it was more like I had a personal, like I had to go another way. And it was not meant to be for me. I had to do the things I did.
Get ready to rock radio.
UK fans will remember your time in UFO, Michael. Now, how did you come to join them after the Scorpions, and what were the reasons for your departure from UFO?
Well, we toured together, the Scorpions and UFO, and they didn't have their guitarist with them, and they showed up, and we were already sound checking the Scorpions, and we had a big PA system in those days. We just bought one, or I don't even know where it came from, but we had one anyway. And so the decision was either we cancel or I play in both bands the same, in one night. We decided that I play in both bands. I rehearsed, as much as I could with Pete showing me the chords, and some of it I was already familiar with because some of them were kind of covers, and so I basically ended up playing with the Scorpions and with UFO. We did that a couple of times. Then the guitarist showed up again, and so we carried on the tour, me with the Scorpions and Bernie Marston with UFO, and until the tour was over, and then UFO asked me to join. And I always had told to the Scorpions that if an English band would ever ask me to join, I would, because the music that I was interested in came from England, and in Germany people weren't really interested in that kind of music. So I wanted to be in a surrounding where people understood what I was doing, and therefore they didn't. In Germany, I wasn't even management allowed. It was I was developing so fast, and I put so much energy to a forward, kind of emotion. It was the being in England with an English band was basically exactly what I wanted.
It's marvellous hearing you say that, actually, and I'm sure it applies to a lot of European musicians because they're influenced by, as you say, and as you were, by UK musicians and bands. When would you say that you received wider recognition in your own country, Michael? Because it's an irony, that, isn't it, that you find fame in the UK and outside of Germany. Well, when did your home country wake up to Michael Schenker?
I think as soon as I joined UFO.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Because presumably you went back and toured in Germany.
Well, it was all of a sudden everybody was interested, all the media, the magazines and stuff like that. So I became very popular in very short time.
Yes. So from a career point of view, it was a marvellous experience. It raised your profile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't really focusing on it, but that's what happened. To the point when we had a hit in America, I was only 21 years old, and all of a sudden I got scared and I ran away. That's when I realized, that something, big has happened.
Now, what happened about when you left UFO then, and this is just before you formed your first sort of Michael Schenker group? I mean, what were the circumstances there? Did you feel you just needed to develop your music more?
Oh no, that basically Phil was a bit of a fighter, and I watched it a few times. I said to him if he would ever hit me, I would leave the band. So he wanted to check it out. He hit me, and I left the band.
It was as simple as that. Oh gosh. You don't, you expect that sort of thing to happen in school bands, but not in a. But as you say, it's all part of life's rich tapestry, right, as we say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, the classic period really for the Michael Schenker group was the early 1980s. Now, what happened after UFO? What were you thinking at that time? Did you really want to form your own band?
I think subconsciously, but I was tempted to join Aerosmith. I was tempted to join Ozzy Osbourne, and I was tempted to rejoin the Scorpions, but I don't think it was meant to be. Something inside of me, I was tempted, and then I went like, wait, Michael, you want to go your own way. You need to do other things. And so it was like a pull in and out, until finally I knew, okay, I have to do the Michael Schenker group.
You can email us, radio@getreadytorockradio.com.
What we tend to forget, or what fans tend to forget, Michael, is that in the period after the Michael Schenker group, and you had great success there, I mean, you were touring over the world and you released several albums, not only with Gary Barden, but with Robin McCauley.
Yeah.
Yeah. And into the 90s, I think you did slip off people's radar, certainly in the UK. And yet, if you go into your sort of back catalogue now, you realise there's a wealth of great albums. I mean, I've done this in the last 12 months or so. And we might call them your wilderness years as far as the music went, but you were still churning out these quality albums. And I'm referring specifically here, Michael, to the series of albums called Thank You.
Uh-huh.
What was the inspiration for these? They're acoustic, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, this is all part of it. This is all part of the Michael Schenker group and Michael Schenker life. To be creative on all these different ways. Electric instrumental album, acoustic instrumental album, blah blah blah, which I wouldn't have been able to do with any of the other bands. And so these are the things I'm talking about. They had to be done. And also. I mean, with UFO and all the way up to, and MSG, all the way up to 90 or 91, I never actually earned any money either. And so just coincidentally, I found out, I decided to split from the machine, from the system. That's why I disappeared. And I opened my own company, and all of a sudden, I was getting paid.
Makes a big difference.
Kind of introduced to the possibility that I should have, earned a lot of money, but I didn't. But anyway, for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And as soon as I did my own thing, I was doing fine. And I did that for the next 12 years. And so we just went. It was a very learning experience. All of these different times and extreme different situations that I have experienced.
From the 1990s, really, you were less high profile. And then, of course, into the millennium, and I think you did have more personal problems, didn't you? Now, are those all behind you now?
Well, life is about development, going through things to experience in order, for whatever reason, to develop. And without any friction, there would be nothing to develop. So I see it more like whatever happens for a reason. Like everybody has their own custom-made set of circumstances. That they are being confronted with going through life, and I guess we are, maybe developing towards our highest potential, but there has to be an arena where you have to do some work or where you have to be confronted with certain situations in order to maybe strengthen yourself. Like I said, everybody has its own arena, with different kind of challenges.
Now, do you think that affected the music during that period when you were having, things were happening in your personal life, I suppose, really? Did that ever impact on the music?
I had a really great life so far, so I look at what we call problems. I'm looking at crisis more like, something where you get strength from, and it's kind of important even. And I'm a very positive person, but of course, when the fight sometimes gets very hard, of course, you get frustrated, and that's the whole thing is that, I don't choose the things, I mean, they happen externally where people decide they want to, bother me or whatever the circumstances are, but we have to deal with it, every person in their own way, with their own set of circumstances. And so I don't know if, I think everything affects everything, so I don't know if it has, in what way it has affected me, or, it is what it is, basically. That's all that I can say. Everything is what it is.
Get ready to rock radio. Music you want to hear.
Now, at the same time, Michael, we shouldn't forget that you were making some excellent band albums. This was round about 2000, 2001. We could mention The Unforgiven and Be Aware of Scorpions. But it was noticeable with these albums that the band lineups were usually different every time. I mean, was this something... Is this just a characteristic, really? We shouldn't read too much into it, that you were using different people because that suited you really at the time. Because it seems to me that the core Michael Schenker sound is really what's on this live album, which is Gary Barden, yourself and Chris Glenn.
Yeah, you take Klaus away from my brother Rudolf.
Yes.
You don't really have the Scorpions, And it's it's between, the two elements, the vocals and the guitar. If you put Robin in, take Gary out, then it sounds different.
Different dynamic, yeah.
But I do the same.
Now, in this 30th anniversary tour, you've been around the world with this. The album's recorded in Japan, but you have used different musicians. I think that was a feature of the tour. That on the UK leg, I saw that last December. You had Chris Glenn and Chris Slade. Now, in Japan, you had Simon Phillips and Neil Murray, who obviously appeared on those early 80s albums. Was there any reason to chop and change? Did you just think it, or was it a scheduling thing?
Nothing goes perfect. It kind of seemed like, okay, Simon Phillips. All of a sudden, I heard Simon Phillips available, and I went like, wait, Simon Phillips is available. Let's do something. It's the 30th anniversary. This is perfect. Let's get this on DVD. I mean, that would be great to do this. So, but Simon was not available for the whole year. He was only available for that particular part. And then, we carried on, and then all of a sudden, and then because I have had so many musicians, I kind of could pick and choose, but only people who are available, and so it just worked out the way that Chris Slade was very suitable. He was available and very suitable for the European market, and Carmen Eppes for the American market. So I was very lucky at the same time, if you understand what I mean. I actually had the best choices available at the right time in the right places.
With the live CD, it sounds great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was done in Japan, and Japanese people are very, very good in doing that kind of stuff, and we were kind of lucky that we had one shot one day of recording, and it turned out great. And we had Michael Voss, who did a great finish.
Oh yes, we know Michael. Yes,
and so it all worked out well. When I play my solos, I'm in a different world, and I call it like a little bit the world of adventures, and they're not, no lead break is exactly the same ever, and so it's always a little bit different, and you never know when some magical moment comes up, but the people who understand what I'm doing, I can hear them when the magic moment comes up, and I know when that happens. And then sometimes you hear like that noise in the audience. Wow, he noticed or she noticed something that I noticed that I didn't mean to do, but it happened by accident or something like that. So these are the moments that I'm having fun with, when out of the blue you do something that is like, wow, that was great.
Thanks, Michael, for your time, and best of luck with your projects in the future as well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for talking to Get Ready to Rock.
Thank you.